but they don't, it's some of the mini brooks where you don't get the price at this point. And specifically told them not to submit prices.
Yeah,
with
and
these
whether we like it or not, this is a law all across the state. It's the way it has to be done, correct?
You can exempt it for a particular project, but it has not been exempted from that.
It's well under that threshold, the way I read it.
That's right.
Yeah, this, if I may, looking at both firms, the one thing that stands out to me is both of them are very large firms. So let's not, I don't think we need to say, one's large and one's not large. They're both large firms. They're both nationwide firms. My concern with, sorry, I need to get the name right, Thomas and Hutton, is looking at the principal in charge group. The key people that we'll be working with is all of them are pretty much out of Durham, Charlotte, and Lumberton, and I just don't know that a project our size, I'm afraid it may get lost in the shuffle when it comes to such a large firm, and they're not local to us. And again, going back to Hazen and Sawyer, they have a local person basically in the town, as well as an office in Greensboro. We've done business with them. They're proven entity to us. And I just don't know that this is too large of a project to take a chance on a firm that we've not had an experience with, and it's and the one that we don't have a relationship with either at all.
Any more discussion?
Tim, would you mind explaining one more time why you say this?
Why I tend to lean towards Thomas and Hutton?
Yeah, explain that one more time to me.
Well, my feeling is that we need a fresh start, and this might be an opportunity to do so. Hazen and Sawyer, I just hesitate to mention this, but I'm a little put out with the $84,400 study that they did for the town, the price and what it covered and what it didn't cover. And then at the same time, I'm very, very, I'm a fan of Mr. Aaron Babson, but yet at the same time, the Hazen and Sawyer hierarchy that I've dealt with in the past has not been very communicative to me as a council member in the past. I hope Mr. Babson's understanding what I'm saying. And so, I sit here having to render a decision, as part of a council for 6,000 people, and I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not an engineer, and so I just have to do the best I can. And like a referee at a game, I call them the way I see them, and that is what I see. That is what my judgment is. That's where my judgment's leading me with this at the moment, and that's my opinion.
Do you know anything about Thomas and Hutton?
I have read their report through and through, and I don't know anything about Hazen and Sawyer either, except for our experience with Mr. Aaron Babson, which has been positive, I might say. And then I have that benefit or the curse of having been on a previous council and dealt with other principals at Hazen and Sawyer that were not so good. And so, am I judging the company versus the man? I don't think I'm judging the man. I'm judging the company, and I hope Mr. Babson understands where I'm coming from. But this council has its own mind. The other council members, I wouldn't presume to tell y'all what to think or how to do. That is my opinion.
So, by rating these, we're
choosing who we go to first for negotiations.
okay. And then we go to the second one.
If we can't come to some agreement on the first one.
If we can't come to an agreement on the first one, we go to the second.
This is really very preliminary anyway, to my way of looking at it.
That's what I'm trying to see. I mean, are we excluding somebody or not? Are we just, I mean, what we're saying is we're just going to look at these guys first and then,
Yeah.
if not, look at these. That's what we're saying.
That's my understanding of the way it works.
We're not doing away with hazing.
Well, I think you are. I think I mean, I think that's the nature of going to the first one first, giving him the first shot at it. And I don't, I can't imagine, if we don't have something to compare it to, I can't imagine that we're gonna have a great understanding of what he gives us unless it's just totally out of bounds.
We'd still have to vote on it though, wouldn't we? Would we still have to vote on this?
Yeah,
accept the
there'll be another vote
Either
to
way we
approve
go,
the
we
contract.
still would have to vote on either one of them, and we're not voting on them tonight to say, this is what we're gonna do.
We're not voting to enter into any contract with anybody. This is to go into the next step of negotiations by selecting a preferred vendor to begin those negotiations with.
Okay, so we're not doing away, okay.
I'll just follow up, and I think we need to vote. I'll just follow up that, we do, Hazen and Sawyer did send a representative here tonight, as they do a lot. And Thomas and Hutton, again, is from Durham. I just don't know that we're gonna get the one-on-one representation there that we need. But, again, let's call the vote.
Good points.
Okay, call the vote. Mr. Rigsby,
No.
Mr. Foy,
No.
Mr. Landrith.
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
discussion's over. I'm a no.
I'll make a motion that we rank Hazen and Sawyer as first choice and authorize Mayor Crawford to select another council member, if he so desires, to oversee the negotiations with Hazen and Sawyer concerning the large water line extension projects, both options for the town of Stokesdale.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion. Mr. Rigsby,
Aye.
Mr. Foy,
Aye.
Mr. Landrith,
Aye. I don't have anything really against them.
Mr. Jones,
Aye. It was pointless to vote nay here.
and I'm an aye. What do we else? Do we have,
Okay.
Mr. Foy?
Second, in our packets, I believe there's an email that I will reference from, it was an email exchange between Robbie and Nicole Kennerly and Kennerly Engineering. It's been likely a couple of years now, but the previous council, before Mike and Tim was there, did approve for Kennerly and Kennerly Engineering to submit plans for extending a water line. I would say it's about a quarter of a mile long between the new Byright and Cornelius Court, I believe, and loop the system there. Like I say, it's about a quarter of a mile. And hopefully this, I think it probably would, this will address some of the water issues in the subdivision there off Cornelius Court, as well as some already identified hydrant flow issues in that Deer Path Court in the subdivision near Cornelius. So in the email, and I did request that Robbie reach out and ask these questions on, in terms of what the next steps were for the town. So the Kennerly will cover one bid process through construction engineers, or excuse me, construction companies to do that water line extension. So I believe the way I read that is they would write up the RFP and submit to the market for construction companies to submit plans. their next steps need to be, one, the council needs to, in my opinion, approve for Kennerly Engineering and Design to move forward in the next steps and express the council's intent for the engineering firm to approach the DEQ and the NCDOT encroachment submittals for this water line. We'll need to, or a representative will need to sign and return them, and from that point on, they'll submit plans for approval with both the DEQ and NCDOT. They're suggesting 30 days for the bid process. If the engineering estimate is below 500,000, the bid can be informal, and we can select the contractors that, we would like to use on that bid if anybody has a preference. In my opinion, it would be under $500,000, but who knows? So this is just a small connecting the loop part of the job, or part of the overall options.
When are we gonna decide which way, if we're going one way or the other? Coldwater or Happy Hill?
I think a lot of that would depend on Hazen and Sawyer, investigating, further investigating each option and giving us a cost estimate.
This would be a good part of the second option, because I believe this would, with the water going that way and going down Oak Level, would be a connector that would probably make this, with this project and that project together, a better connector, or maybe not better, but a connector for the water system. That would be,
It would I agree with you, and from where we are today, it would presumably improve, presumably.
I would,
Closing the loop.
I would like to, I'd be for that if we were going Coldwater. I believe it'd add to it. I don't know if it would or not. I'm not an engineer.
Any further discussion?
The motion I would have would be, well, hold on, is there any further discussion? Excuse me.
No.
Are you trying, are we gonna put this in place now?
If you make a motion, council will be allowed discussion automatically.
Sure.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Do what you want.
Jimmy, this is just to get, okay, I'll go ahead and say the motion. I'll make a motion that the Stokesdale town staff complete the applications for the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality Public Works System and NCDOT encroachment submittals that have been sent to us. I have the mayor sign and return them to Kennerly Engineering and Design, and authorize them to go ahead and start the request for proposal project with construction companies to do this project.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
And just to be clear, we're talking about the plans that were submitted on July 27th of 2022. Is that, I see, that's the plans that we're talking about?
Is what you're looking at from Kennerly and Kennerly?
Yes,
Then that would be the plans, yes.
okay.
Has Kennerly already been paid to perform all this work, or would we have to pay them additional monies
They have been paid.
to let put the project out for bid?
I believe they have been paid a percentage of it. I'm not sure of the total amount that has been paid, but a percentage greater than 50%, likely close to
Well,
7.
just, obviously, we don't want to pay them twice, so we should be careful what we do here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mr. Foy, would you expand on the reason for this project? You mentioned that there are issues with fire hydrants and pressure.
I did. Those were located in Deer Path Court, which is not in the new subdivision, Cornelius Court. Deer Path Court is where I believe we have 2 fire hydrants that were identified in the Hazen and Sawyer study with having low pressure.
Okay, I thought the recommended solution for that was a short connection between Oak Level Church Road up, I don't know if I'm on the right street there.
South Point.
South Point, yeah.
That
it's a
was-
very-
That, it was. I agree that that was the recommended solution. In my opinion, this is a better solution than just.
But I mean, forgive me, I'd want you to use engineering data if it's available, and I think it's available. The recommendation to cure that flow problem with those fire hydrants was that short extension, not this one.
That was in the Hazen and Sawyer recommendation, which was, in my recollection, was done before the subdivision was built.
I follow. It may have been overtaken by events, is what you're saying.
Yes. To the best of my recollection. And I say that because, to the best of my recollection, on Hazen and Sawyer's map, I'm going by memory here, they did not include that new subdivision. There was just that cul-de-sac on Deer Court, and I don't remember those 25 or so homes behind that. They were added to the water system prior to, or after 2019.
Okay, I'd like to make a few points here for that rare individual that may actually be listening out there.
Okay.
There was a previous position taken by certain council members and supported in part by certain members of the fire department that the pressures in Boone Meadows were low, that the fire flows were low. We have had those checked by the Rural Water Association, their head technician and one of their other ones, not just one of them, 2 of them, and found that while they were on the low side of the scale, that they were sufficient for fire flow. Thus, they were properly engineered. There's no blame to assign to the engineer or anybody here. They're just on the low side. That's my best, that's what I know to be true. And then my other objection to this is basically the developer I know was standing in front of me at either a planning board meeting or a council meeting. It all runs together after a while, but at that podium stating that he would pay for this extension. And somehow, because of politics, that fell by the wayside. And then here we are at the point where we're using the citizens of Stokesdale's money to pay for that extension. I don't know how I'm going to vote on this when it comes up for a vote here in a second, but it's like the one that got away. I'm talking about the bass that we almost landed. It was this big. So I think the town's resources, the citizens would expect us to conserve those at every opportunity if there's another way. And so I think as a whole, we failed to do that. I don't know that there's one specific individual to point a finger at here. I got a suspect or 2, but I just want to make that, perfectly clear that as a business practice, as a model for how we do things, this ain't good. But this extension, of course, like any other extension that connects a couple of loose ends we got somewhere, I think will improve our flows, improve our water quality. And is it, worth what it's going to cost us? Presumably so. I hope it's not being done because there's some plan somewhere by somebody to extend water main from Stokesdale down Ellisboro Road into Rockingham County. That has not been discussed here in public to my knowledge, but I hope that if that's where somebody's going with this, that we certainly need to engineer the main to accommodate that. We need to have a public plan before that just accidentally happens and we find out that this main where we just constructed is not large enough. So with that said, I'll shut up.
I understand a lot of the points you're making, and I agree with a fraction of them. Again, we've already paid $18,000 for these guys, or we've paid the majority of the $18,000 obligated to these guys, and we'd just like to finish to get what we've ordered. And to get what we've ordered, we need to get this over the finish line and get proposals from construction companies to see how much this will cost, and then it comes to council.
So is it gonna, what's the cost gonna be to finish that part up before it comes to council? Is there,
There were numbers talked about that were $230,000 to $250,000, just based on my rough memory, but I don't know how wild a guess that is. But that's what I remember.
I mean, we paid for the engineering study.
right,
Yeah.
I would just like something to make an educated decision on, do we do this or do we not?
Well,
so we're just, you're still in the planning process to look at.
I don't object to the find out how much this is gonna cost, and then we decide if we wanna do it or not. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's my intent at this point, to find out what it's gonna cost. And we need, I guess, in our form of government, I thought it'd be proper to have a vote from council, especially since, you know, this is a new council from the previous vote to do this, for staff and the mayor to sign the documents to get this project going.
Well, one more point, if I may. Before I vote on this, I would like to know, I understand the action that you've made a motion for staff to submit the application
Okay.
to the state for approval. What I don't know is if my vote entails spending additional monies with Kennerly or not, and can somebody here tell me?
No, I can't tell you off the top of my head. I know that we've paid Kennerly for the engineering work. I don't know if we paid them a total of $18,000 for the entire scope of work. I don't know. We've paid them in installments, and I don't know the sum of the installments that we've paid them thus far.
Did we approve the money, the 18,000? Has that already been approved through the budget?
I don't know.
From
I'm not
what
the
I
staff
recall-
finance officer, so.
Well, from what I recall, the expenditure was approved. Do you see my point? I'd just kind of like to know if this is, if my yes vote would mean an additional $500 or an additional $3,000 or whatever. I'd just kind of like to know.
I 100% see your point. If you would feel more comfortable, and I think it makes good practical sense to continue this to the town council meeting, this part of the discussion, and get that figure that we've paid to date. It may be all 18, or it may be 12. I don't know.
I have read those documents, but it's been so long, I don't have any good recall of what they said.
We could put it on the tail end of, Friday, when are we gonna meet Friday?
We're already meeting Friday.
I mean, we need to ask Kim a couple questions.
Mr.
Whatever y'all think, I mean, it's,
Mr. Foy, if you want to move forward the idea of adding it to that special meeting Friday, I'd have no objection if that's what you want to do. But I would like to know what I'm spending when I vote for this.
Sure, I think that makes all the sense in the world. So I will withdraw my motion and continue this item. Friday, I'm gonna wanna get out of here.
you can put it on it in case we can, and if we can't, we can continue it again, if you'd like. It's up to you.
I like Jimmy's plan.
All right, we'll put it on the agenda for Friday night.
That keeps us moving forward, you know, we got to cut some wheat.
Okay, so the motion has been withdrawn
It has and continued
and continued.
until the Friday night special call meeting, which I can't wait. All right,
We could do the meeting standing up. I think these meetings would be shorter if we did that anyway.
amen, brother. The last thing I want to discuss is the need, before we move forward with the altitude control valve and the elevated tank water agitator. I'm hoping I'm getting those names correct. We need to submit, in my opinion, another RFQ for general engineering services and put that out there to potential engineering.
You wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we do that. We submit an RFQ for general engineering services to cover general engineering services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am aye.
We not done that yet.
That cover it for you, Mr. Foy?
That, check. Yes, sir, that's, I'm glad I think canceled for the discussion on these items. That was, what I wanted to do.
We'll open up one more time for citizens' comments. Do we have any council comments?
No, sir.
Well, I'd just like to thank our assembled audience. We have 4 people that attended this from beginning to end, and I always appreciate their patience out there. I know how hard it is to sit through these meetings. We're kind of busy up here. Out there, it's sort of went from one boring subject to another a lot of times. So thank you all.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Who?
Second.
Okay. We've got a motion to adjourn in a second. Any discussion?
Don't need discussion.
Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
Mr. Foy?
Aye.
Mr. Landrith?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
And I am aye. Thank you, folks.
Oh, my.